Love that sound. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Namaste. Psychic Frank's Mystery School. I'm here the first and the third Thursday at 5 o'clock here in California. But most people see me here at Comcast in San Francisco at 7:30 on Saturdays. On channel 29. But the cable access stations are 76 and 29, and there's some good stuff. The producers at cable access, but we're not getting our shows tagged thanks to Comcast. But that's another story. We're going around that. So tell me, support. Thank you for supporting Democracy TV, public TV. TV for the public. You know, it's there's so many talented people, uh, and who have, well, you know, it's funny. We had, excuse me, we had just a few days ago, because here we are, the 7th of November. I'll upload this onto YouTube tomorrow, the 8th of November, and then most people see it on the 9th, Saturday. But it'll be on YouTube tomorrow. But on the 11th, Mars is doing the third and final square to Pluto. Exact on November 5th, actually. Yeah, that was a big thing. But on the 11th, what we got is 11/11, November 11th. That's a powerful numerology. Those are master numbers. And 11/11 is 22. That's a real make it real. It's all about being awake. That goes right along with all the Scorpio energy. Monitor your frequency. Monitor your frequency. Um, and yeah, that's what we're all doing. Got some help about that. Yeah, because Mercury is going to be transiting the face of the sun. And Mercury is very small. It's going to be visible all up and down the west coast, the east coast of the United States of America, South America, and parts of Africa. It'll probably be on the news. But metaphysically, Mercury is how we take in information. So global and and individually, there'll be breakthroughs. So make sure you when you go into the school of the night. If you're studying the mysteries, if you're watching this, you don't just go to sleep anymore. You release the day and you go into the school of the night, and you get things done. You work with your guides and you wake up more refreshed and more vitalized and more alive. You know, I found something to help us because it's not only me. I'm going through a major adjustment that's taken a year and a half. I'm not going to bore you with it, but this is the last couple of months of it. Actually, the last month of some stuff with Saturn. It's been going on for a year and a half, but excuse me. Um, I found help, and I got a tickle in my throat. Excuse me. Um, okay, this is when you are just beginning. This is all about adjusting your taking hold of your mind. The wild stallions of your brain. Your mind. Yeah, the brain doesn't generate thought. Any more than a wire generates electricity. It's just a conduit for it. We're going to talk about thoughts without a thinker. Good stuff. Okay, when you are just beginning to deliberately manage the frequency of your being, and then in parentheses, through your thoughts and feelings, comma, end of parentheses, okay, when you are just beginning to deliberately manage the frequency of your being through your thoughts and feelings, you may find there are some ups and downs and that you are jumping from one frequency to another. This stage is so short. Well, I guess in terms of eternity, but when you're going through it, it seems like, well, that's it. Pluto, these changes with Uranus go in a snap, but the stuff with Pluto, it's, as I often said, it's like molasses on a cold winter's day, Come on, Pluto, And right now, Pluto's churning up all, with all the rule Scorpio, and with the Sun and Mercury and now Mars pretty soon. Not Mars. Yeah, Mars goes into Scorpio on the 19th. And yeah, that's the 18th, Monday, the 18th of November, 11:41 p.m. Mars leaves Libra and enters Scorpio. This stage is so short, comma, and in no time at all you will begin to stabilize on a higher frequency and then a higher frequency, forever climbing higher and higher. It took some practice to walk, didn't it? But with determination, you did it. There is no difference. Um, I don't know who said that, but I had it in my notes, and I thought it was worth repeating. So remind yourself now, if you've got any planets in Taurus, any planets in Scorpio, uh, you're dealing with uh, transformation, an awakening, and also your senses are tuned into nature. If you're a Taurus, you're by your nature is to tune into the rhythm of nature because you're fixed Earth, so it's not a stretch for you, but it really is actually your saving grace to hug a tree, listen to sounds of the sea, yeah, well, I think it's my duty. So many people, even though 18 years, almost 20 years there since 9/11, since the towers went down, people saying, because the media, I'm not going to call them names, but, they do things for money. The meter's always running with them. Yeah, it's important because a lot of these young people now who are, were born 18, 19, 20 years ago, don't understand. They don't think it's relative. It's yeah. They say it's that's not relative, Frank. Don't bring that up. Rumsfeld, comma George W. Bush, comma Cheney. We knew they were lying. We knew they were lying. A declassified document shows these men ordered the invasion of a sovereign nation based on zero justification. They are the reason there is no now ISIS and no justice, and that's why there's ISIS. It's like yesterday in my mind seeing those towers go down that morning on the TV set, and and I and I knew we were going to go to war. I knew this whole thing was going to be happening, and but I still, and I also knew the only thing that's going to bring justice, the only thing that's going to get rid of ISIS is bringing justice to Cheney. Cheney, it was his brainchild there. Bush just went along for the ride. He was just the special president who needed Jerry Mahoney to work the Muppet, and Rumsfeld never met a war he didn't love, So, yeah. So anyway, I just want you to remind people that the reason there is ISIS now is plain and simple because of those guys. But now they're being honored. If I don't think George W. Bush is allowed in England, or he'll be arrested for breaking war crimes there, the Geneva Convention crimes. The media. I don't know why they let these guys off. Okay. Yeah, so we talked about deliberately managing your frequency, and that's key. And let me see what else we get. We're going to talk about the Taurus New Moon coming on. But, I'm getting away from astrology, because not anybody understands it. Not many. Not everybody knows when Mercury's retrograde, you shouldn't sign anything like right now when Mercury's retrograde in Scorpio. What's happening is Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, so a lot of these dark, deep, ugly, toxic secrets now are all coming up. And I was just looking at Donald Trump's chart. Did I say chump? I have this bewitched. Andorra couldn't say Dorwood. Darren, whatever she kept. I can't say Donald Trump. See, I did it again. Well, he's such a Trump. Oh, yeah. Letting others be responsible for themselves is loving and respectful. Letting our friends and loved ones suffer the pain of growth is showing compassion in its purest form. That was a tough one for me to get. but it took a couple of years, like 70. No, I didn't start working on myself until I was well into my early 30s there. So, which is I considered late, but hey, better than not, than never. Okay, so there's plenty of time. So yeah, there's so many astrologers out there. There's I forget her name. Rachel Spring, and then there's Pam Gregory, uh, 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 the one that used to write for the Mountain Astrologer. She still does, Kathy Rose. Yeah, so there's a lot of astrology information out there. So I suggest you. It makes life better. The planets don't make things happen, but they simply reflect what's going on. I like this quote about. What she says, this woman says she's given. Oh, excuse me there. Excuse me, Mr. Microphone. Oh, boy, that must have hurt. I hope it didn't bother your ears. Yeah, raised by Italians, I talk with my hands. I talk with my hands. Uh, yes, so Jupiter went direct. I want to repeat that. Jupiter went direct on August 11th. What took place 6 months it was retrograde. As it felt like the noose came unraveled, a portal opened, and the wave of expansion, wisdom, blessings and the galactic now bestow into our lives now the galactic wisdom. We're in the center of the galactic center of the Milky Way, and in November, rather, we're in the middle of November. We're going to be Jupiter and this the sun, the Earth will be in the center of the greater be close to in the center of the greater attractor, which is like the great center of the galactic center. Only encompasses several galaxies, not only the Milky Way. The GC is the Milky Way. So what it means is eons of cosmic wisdom can download right through your crown chakra. Just be open. This is an amazing time. What do they say? Oh, yeah, this was a good one. When death, the great reconciler, has come, it is never our tenderness that we repent, it's but our severity. Yeah, so be gentle, but most of all, be gentle with ourselves. Like I did something really where in hindsight, being 2020, I could have handled it a whole lot better. But I did what I did, and now my job has been to forgive myself. Yeah, so let me see what else it says here. Okay, so that's all gone. And let me see what else we get here. Oh, yeah, so let others be responsible for their lives. Yeah, cut off this woman, Molly Young Brown. I don't know who she is, but I'll have to look her up. But I wrote down this quote she wrote. Cut off its abyss. Unpredictable life emerges with a never-ending procession of miracles, crises, healing, and growth. When I realize this once again, I see the absurdity of my belief that I can understand, predict, control life, and control life. All I can really do is go along for the ride with as much consciousness and love as I can muster in the moment. Make every moment as joyful as you can. It doesn't mean you have to run around with confetti in the air, but just this inner joy, like, holy moly, I'm living in wherever, San Francisco, and during this paradigm changing of uh, it's amazing stuff. Well, I'm discovering that, forget about six senses. I'm discovering, I think I'm past the sixth sense. My five senses have gotten so intense, and now, so I'm still in the adjustment phase. Okay, I want to talk about this book. It's called Thoughts Without a Thinker. Because I've been doing this 40-something years now, and it's with the general public, a lot of fairs, a lot of rallies, and during the cannabis, getting it, you know, and this is one of the most a lot of I think the most intelligent questions I get from the most intelligent people are written in this book. And it says, because most people don't understand Buddhism, it's just a philosophy, it's not a religion. And this sort of goes in with the the fact that science that rules the world right now is all based on theories and assumptions. Like their assumption is better than mine. Their assumption doesn't buy the fact that bear with me here. It's really important. Uh, uh, that that the universe is love. You know that the universe is totally love. Yeah, we'll get back to that. Yeah, because that doesn't sell. You can't support. Where's Star Wars? There's nothing to kill out there. If we bought into the whole, which obviously everybody's done. Science believes if there's divine intelligence, I mean, extraterrestrial life, they're there to eat us. That's their whole thing there. Uh, yeah, what did Representative Al Green said? If we don't deal with this hate will deal with us. Yeah, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Remind yourself of that. Remind yourself of that. Happiness is important. It cannot be traveled to, owned, earned, warned, or consumed. That's a good one. Happiness is the spiritual experience of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude. When you're faced with karma, there's only really ultimately one thing you can do: face it with courage and as much joy as you can muster. Okay, we got rid of Rumsfeld. Okay, so the Dalai Lama, Buddha says we must remember. Buddha did not teach speculative psychology. He taught a practical one designed to liberate practitioners from dissatisfaction. Or do not want to teach theory, he said. I analyzed. He refused to answer questions. He refused to answer questions that would feed either the tendency to cling to some kind of absolute romanticized ideal, or that would enable nihilistic distancing. These two trends that were subsumed under the headings of existence and non-existence, and that became the basis for many powerful religions, psychological and philosophical dogmas. There were, in fact, 14 subjects that the Buddha repeatedly refused to discuss, all of them searching for absolute certainty. We all want certainty, the longing for certainty. We want that one deal, that one partner, that one experience. And that's so limiting when you think of it, because the universe is so, as I said, higher and higher consciousness, and you just expand, and it's just so rich. And I hate to use the cliche delicious, but man, it's the best show in town, and you got it. Put down your devices and dig what God gave you, these amazing, who cares who's zooming who, you're on an endless journey through eternity, be true to what you are. Be true to thyself. Be true. When my life's an open book, and back in '82, I had this out of body experience, and it changed my life. And I went to a 30-day immediately expensive rehab program. And then part of the rehab aftercare contract was I would do therapy, group therapy with the same people every Friday night at St. Mary's Hospital in the Haight here in San Francisco, and I would also do these meetings, AA, and all these meetings I didn't want to do, but I did them for a year or so, and then. I realized these people didn't leave their body like I did. You know, I didn't need to work these steps to have a spiritual experience. I knew things, so I just stopped going. You know, I just stopped going because they give out these chips when you stay in for, you know. I've been here 4 months, 4 years, and 4 hours and 4 minutes or something, and they get a chip, you know, marking all of these things. It's morbid, it's sick, you know. Bonding with wounds, you know, bonding with wounds. No good could come from bonding with wounds. So I think it was my second chip. I did stick around for 2 years, I think, because I had made friends, you know. I bonded with wounds. I didn't realize it at the time because I didn't realize that until I started studying deeply metaphysics, which is what AA was all about. You know, Carl Jung, William James, varieties of religious experience. They're all deleted from the modern, whatever, it's a cult now, like everything else. So, and then I was walking down, and everybody was clapping like I had done something well, you know. And I looked at that chip, and it said, "To thyself be true." And I never went to another meeting. That was it. And I've been sober now quite a while, you know. So, but I thought, yeah, to thyself be true, you know. And that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do. It ain't easy, but who, you know, it's why we're here. You know, who wants to go to school and pass easy classes? You know, when we go home, because we're all going to go home to our reward. And we want to say, "Hey, you see, I did all that," you know, and I pity people like the Donald Trump there. Okay, so there were in fact 14 subjects that the Buddha repeatedly refused to discuss, all of them searching for absolute certainty. One was whether the world is eternal or not, or both, or neither. Two, whether the world is finite in space or infinite, or both, or neither. Three, whether an enlightened being exists after death or does not, or both, or neither. Whether the soul, this is a key one, whether the soul is identical with the body or different from it. I get that a lot. People ask me that a lot. The Buddha taught that to attempt to attempt a definite answer to these questions would give the wrong idea. That to do so would only feed the tendency to cling to an absolute or nihilistically reject, neither of which he found useful. He never taught the existence of a true self, nor did he ever support the idea of a chaotic universe in which, quote unquote, nothing matters. Individual actions are of no importance. He never said that. Rather, he encouraged a consistent doubting of all fixed assumptions about the nature of things. And right now, everything science is teaching your kids and you, everything you've learned. I was just watching this guy on Bill Maher the other day, this doctor he's the head of pediatrics, American Pediatrics Association, you know, big deal there. And he's saying what I've been saying. He doesn't take it to the extent I do, but if you follow his train of thought, he was saying to Bill Maher, I was watching it at a friend's house. She tapes it for me. Denise Story, she'll be here in a few minutes to do her show. She's here at 6 o'clock. Show has interesting guests. Yeah, so the assumption, yeah, he was saying about like when they give Advil or Tylenol, the doctor should explain. He should look you in the eyes and tell you that this is wreaking havoc on your kidneys. And there's many people now on dialysis because of those two things. But the way it's TV makes it sound like they're jelly beans. Oh, take this, take 2 of these. Don't take 6 or 8 of these, you know. But and this is you know, the head of pediatric medicine saying they don't explain what all of these things will do to your I'm getting gas just thinking about these. You know, but if you follow that chain of thought through these pharmaceutical ads, they want you to own it. They, you know, even kids stuff. Kids will talk about my It's to me that's child abuse, and these advertising agencies will get worse and worse and worse unless we start waking up and realize the most precious thing we have is our mind. When that goes, baby, it's what you got, what you got, and right now we're eating chemicals disguised. We're eating food like substances. What's wrong with strawberries? Just plain old strawberries. They're delicious. I cut up some strawberries somebody gave me the other day, and they call masquerade, whatever they do. I'm not a cook, but there's a word for it. Oh yeah, and I put a tablespoon of mango jelly on there, mango jam, and teaspoon of that, and stirred it all up. And the next day, it was ambrosia. And yes, there was a little sugar in the mango jam, but you know what? Um, See, there was Jesus was Jesus, Buddha was Buddha, Joseph was Joseph, Mary was Mary, Krishna was Krishna, Krishnamurti was Krishnamurti. You will be you for eternity. These people were all showing you their way of going home or what was real. Uh, uh, be like these people, but don't be those people. Let the universe delight in your individuality. And that's what the last new moon we had was the Scorpio new moon in opposition to Taurus, Uranus and Taurus, 4 degrees, 4 degrees. And that was, once again, to refresh our memory. That was to recover the inner child and allow the sensitive and expressive emotional nature to flow unimpeded. The little kid who would rather do something else than playing baseball. Oh my God, it's a commie, man. Or a guy who knew he was gay before he even knew about sex. He just knew he wasn't attracted to girls, or the girl who was not attracted to guys, or didn't like wearing frilly things, or like dressed up. How many women tell me when it was so hard for them because their mother forced them to wear all these frilly things, and until they, could pick out their own clothes. But, yeah, the constipated 50s and 60s, man, that's when it all changed. But I was around, I'm a product of the coming up in the 50s, man. Well, it was good. It's what I needed to be who I am. Yeah, without that feeling of love and without that faith and conviction that life in us is unobstructed, all the healing techniques of science are of little avail. I was just talking to one of the women who works here, and she was saying in the morning she wakes up and says, I live I live in love. I live in love. No, in peace. I live in peace and bliss and joy. I live in peace and bliss and joy. And just don't say those words. Think of the bliss and joy, the aesthetic joy of being alive. Of just being totally alive. And as I said, yeah, people you love, they're going to do what they're going to do. If they ask for help, fine, but non-solicited advice. It says he never taught the existence of a true self, that nothing matters. Rather, he encouraged a consistent doubting of all fixed assumptions about the nature of things. In a teaching he gave to a skeptical follower named Malo Caputo or something, he linked the asking of questions about the ultimate nature of things to a man wounded by an arrow, refusing to have the arrow taken out until all of his questions about who the assassin was, where he came from, what he looked like, what kind of bow he was using, and what makes of an arrow he had shot had been addressed, that man would die. He emphasized the Buddha without ever having learned this. See, so it's important to deal with the fact that we're living in a toxic world, because for decades and decades, people have assumed and gotten into power and then passed laws to make their assumptions legal. And now we're realizing we've been looking at the shadows, the hand shadows on the wall, and then we're finally turning around and we're seeing the light that's making the shadows. Love is the only reality, and it is not a mere sentiment. Man, that should be needle pointed on a pillow. I want to see that in North Beach and on all the where they sell needle point pictures, little things there. They're not needle pointed anymore. I'm sure they're all done in Korea in some factory for like 30 cents. You picture these people with candlelight going blind in these sweatshops making these things. Love is the only reality, and it is not mere sentiment. It is the ultimate truth that lies at the heart of creation. Man, that is beautiful. Thomas Jefferson said, if a law is unjust, a man is not only right to disobey it, he is obligated to do so. Thomas Jefferson, the forefathers of this country. In my meditation, stop acting so small. You are the universe in a static motion. Yeah, stop acting so small. We are stardust. I sound like a Joni Mitchell song, but we are literally stardust. We are golden. We are made. It wasn't until I had cataract surgery that I realized we are born with porcelain teeth. Yeah, we don't take care of them and they wear out. But we have glass. Uh, Only a creator, a genius creator. Uh, I am a divine expression of life. I love and accept myself where I am right now. See, you can't just say these words. You got to feel them. Donna Cunningham passed on last year, but I found this book she wrote in '88, and it's astrology and vibrational healing. Donna Cunningham, and she talks about chapter 4, Saturn and fear, neurosis or inner wisdom. Saturn, Jupiter, every 12 years changes signs every year. It takes 12 years to go around, brings more, expands. Love expands, fear contracts. See, that's why I know love is the ultimate reality, because the universe has been proven now to be expanding. If it was hate existed, the universe wouldn't be expanding, it would be contracting. No, human beings are contracting, The patriarch is gone. The old men aren't going out easy. We're getting a prime example of this. Don't forget, if we didn't have Donald Trump, we'd have to invent him. What's going to happen is Jupiter's going to leave Sagittarius and go into Capricorn. So get ready, all you Capricorn people. Make room. Get rid of what you no longer wear and give it to the poor, and or recycle it, and get ready for all the gifts Jupiter's going to give you. When Jupiter comes around every 12 years to your sun sign or your Jupiter or your Venus or your Mars, where you have Capricorn in this case, and say you're in a wrong relationship. It's been over forever, but you just are in it, force a habit. It's not even about money anymore. And Jupiter wants to give you a new relationship. Well, you're already got. And people say, well, we have an understanding. We don't even live in the same part of the house. We see contracts. Psychics see contracts. So many people, when I used to work with the general public, I used to do parties at Neiman Marcus and all those upscale places. And all these really well-to-do women would sit with me, and they'd say, do you see any love in my life? And I'd say, well, I see a marriage license. You're still married, and you have a 13-year-old daughter living right with you and your husband. And well, it's like, wow, you need a therapist. You don't need a psychic reading. Anyway, Saturn has to do with, so Saturn and fear, neurosis or inner wisdom. See, what's going to happen now is Saturn's going to conjunct Jupiter in Capricorn, and then they're both going to be in Aquarius the end of 2020. So this is what we're being prepared for. And then from 2020 to 2025, 2026, it's all about America's first Pluto return, and it happens in our money house. See, all the Scorpio energy now is in opposition to the United States of America's 12th house. So what's been swept under the carpet for the last 12 years is being exposed now, Okay, and there's been some yuck, there's been some yuck. Okay, so Saturn has to do with limits, anything which causes us to move beyond our limits, what we believe are our limits. Okay, we will bring up fear. What we believe are our limits will bring up fear if we go beyond them. Yet, like the rings of Saturn, fear. See, this was written in '88. Isn't it interesting? When I read this, I thought how the rings are dissolving. They say in most people's lifetime. I don't know. I'm 70, so who knows in my lifetime? But I hope to be reach 170. Yet, like the rings of Saturn, fear in themselves create limitations. As we look, see now that's what the age of Aquarius is. It's going to be no more limitations. Love and compassion will rule the universe. Yeah, well, it does right now, but we're gonna. It's yeah. I believe. I believe it's. It's so great to be now. These paradigms are changing. This is no cover up or cosmetic change. No, this all started in the 60s when the Pluto Uranus conjunction started. So I'm personally really involved in this, and so many of my compadres are no longer my brothers and sisters. Many of them, just were clubbed into dank submission. Let's leave it at that. So he says, as we look into the fears which limit our lives, we will discover a number of Saturn's negative traits like negativity, perfectionism. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing with at least a couple of imperfectly there. Rigidity and unquestioning acceptance of authority. We got to question authority more than anything. Just as Saturn has both positive and negative functions, as we will find fear also serves positive purposes. Fear that came up with specific Saturn aspects will be discussed, yada, yada, yada. Fear is awful. When it strikes, we feel vulnerable and helpless. The body contracts, the heart goes into spasm. The feeling is so uncomfortable, we'll do anything to hide from it. Thus, fear most often wears a mask. In defense, we run into compulsive activities, deaden ourselves by overindulgence, get sick, or freeze into apathy. Apathy, that's going to take us down if we don't be aware of that. That's like, I see it all over the place. Especially, I was crossing Van Ness the other day, and there was this religious thing going on with all these Latino people. It was the spiritual Day of the Dead or something, and it was a very quiet march. But there were so many, hundreds of people. And I was talking to these strangers, and I said, is this political? They said, no, it's religious. And I said, oh, I thought it had to do with, and I named something about some politician who I thought everybody knew. And they looked at me and tilted their head like, what are you talking about? I guess they were apathy there. They just, tuned out. They just don't understand. They just let it be, Our democracy, man, we need to get involved. It's like, I wanted to shake them, man. Man, you're young and you're a beautiful young couple, man. You're probably gonna procreate in the future now. Man, don't you watch the news? Anyway, Frank. I got a lot. I guess I am judging. Anyway. Yeah, it says Freud's theory of neurosis stated that symptoms were attempts to relieve anxiety, and that anxiety always derived from repression. I just said the repressed 50s, and so much have been repressed up until just recently. Fear is at the root of many self-defeating behaviors. And then this is beautiful. The person who loses 50 pounds and rapidly gains it back doesn't do so out of lack of willpower, but out of terror of what it will mean to be thin. The ghetto-born student who wins a scholarship and then gets pregnant isn't promiscuous, but frightened of leaving her people behind to face an unknown world. Well, see, this was written in '88, so I'll give Donna Cunningham, may she rest in peace. I know that sounds a little racist, but, in '88, we've come a long way in just a few decades, and yet we haven't. But I believe we have. I don't believe those people died in vain. Yeah, like Emmanuel, yeah. What's his? Okay. Uh, the ghetto, yeah, the promising writer who spends years avoiding the typewriter isn't lazy but scared of failure or of the creative process which cannot be controlled. Fear's capacity to create problems in its wake is the reason for this chapter. If we understand and overcome fear, other difficulties also begin to clear up. And there's the positive functions of fear. As Seth, the spirit guide of Jane Roberts, the individual and the nature of mass events, pointed out, fears, sometimes even seemingly irrational ones, can awaken the body if you have been too lethargic or in a rut. If you trust your nature, it's easy to trust such feelings. Well, anyway, this is a fear is often wisdom arising from self-knowledge. For instance, if you cannot swim, you're afraid to jump off the high diving board. A reluctance is merited. Many times, fear is not neurosis, but inner wisdom, warning you that you haven't got the capacity or experience to handle a situation. Inhibitions act like brakes, cautioning us against unwise or even dangerous actions. Fears keep us from taking on more than we can handle. They are blocks to higher self erects. The higher self erects these blocks to keep us from actions which would be disastrous before we've developed sufficient maturity and self discipline. There are generally good reasons for these feelings if we analyze them and thus should pay attention. It goes, however, Saturn also shows rigidity and crystallization. Many fears outlast its usefulness, and many generalize beyond uh, the original unsafe situation into other similar situations, like same guy in a different spare pair of pants, We don't take time in between relationships to digest, take responsibility for the whole thing. Okay, so we got only a few minutes left. Let me see what my people who have been. Hope you got something out of this today. Use this intensity, and don't forget, I'll be here again, God willing, on the 21st. Thursday at 5 o'clock, the 21st of this month. But in between that, we're going to have on the 12th, the 19th, 19-degree Taurus full moon in Scorpio. And that's all about rewards for our efforts, good or bad, now Saturn's made a list, checking it twice. Who's been naughty or nice? So let me see what my friends need to know. Yeah, everybody's grateful at a banquet. Now is when you got to be grateful for the victory we're having. The fact, do you think, when people say, do you think Donald Trump, no, of course he's gone. Just be positive. Well, you got to get enthusiasm. Fear cometh before a fall. It's not, what they say, no, it's fear. Live life to the nines. That's the best revenge. Don't let him get, you came in to have a joyful experience. It's interesting. I just couldn't. I don't watch much TV because it's violent, and I was only watching Turner Classics, and then they had greedy Comcast, so I just got rid of Comcast, So I watch everything on the computer. But you can't get most of the Bayvex, yeah, because. And boy, what an education now with antenna TV. It's like a whole nother world, when you really aren't distracted by the media's banging. You really can I'm spending more time just in nature. And I think we should all take a fast. Write to Comcast. Tell them to get back to tagging our shows. Let me see anything else. Be optimistic. What is it? Never disappoint a child or an alcoholic. You're not a child. You're not an alcoholic. This is happening for us, not to us. Make our courage bigger than our fears. Only you can do that. No one else can do that for you. These are all very personal things, like going to the bathroom, moving our bowels, urinating, eating, drinking, sleeping. These are all very personal things you can only do for yourself, and that's the way it is. Other people like myself, and people can guide you this way or that way. Like I always tell people, I'm not trying to be a wise guy, but if you're not happy with what you have, what makes you think more is gonna help? What I'm coming out of is I totally got lost. Everybody wants to be my friend, Like I don't. Do I look like I'm pining away from not having friends? But this one particular woman, this one case I got involved in a few years ago, I lost myself in it, I just, because the fact is I'm back, and I realized, God, it's so easy to be seduced, especially if there's anything to do with any kind of power, which is usually money or, fame or something, it was an education, and it was. I knew it was. There were pearls there because it was rough. I went through a few months of Uranus was on my moon and my north node, and I knew I had no conscious control except to remind myself that this was a transformation was underway. And I did I spent a lot of time in nature because I took advice from astrologers. Um, so I suggested a few like Pam Gregory is really good, and then there's this Rachel Spring is real. She's a younger one, and I like her energy. I love all their energies, So and they're much better. As I said, I'm a psychic who uses a psychic healer who uses astrology, numerology, just to help me get a picture of who I'm working with. It's hard to explain. Okay, so yes, right now there's a lot of strife. People are not in the present moment. Five is always be here now. There's a lot of fighting going on. I was watching The View this morning. Whoopi Goldberg and the McCain's daughter. God, is she a mess? Uh, yeah, this is transformation. America's going through a rebirth, and it's like giving birth. It's a painful birth now. America's birth defect was racism. Condoleezza Rice said that. Okay, we could all use the dream state. We could collectively tell your friends, release the day, ask your angel, surround yourself with the love and light of the Cristo Ray, whatever you want to call it, the light of the Holy One Mind, your protective spirit, your voice, your throat chakra rules all the chakras. What you say goes. Uh, we've got to protect what's ours. Here's the seven. Yeah, America, the United States of America is in uh, an 8 year, and 8 and 1 is 9. Yeah, because the 4th of July is 11 or 2. 2 and 3 is 5. Oh, so this is a 7. So America's in a 7 month. We're in a 5 year. Where America's a 5 year. Yeah, this is the 7. Yeah, I believe we might lose Jimmy Carter this month. I just saw him the other day, and he looks good. But at that age, he's almost 100. He could just go in his sleep. Because he looks very like he looks like he's ready, But I love Jimmy so much. I love Jimmy Carter, or somebody who's very dear to America might we might say goodbye to. Something dies in a 7 month, so we can expect something in America to which is what we need. Uh, yeah, remember now, the world's just friends you haven't met yet. Just really, I don't know how I'm going to do it either. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Just there's no one size fits all. That's how I see it. It's just realizing now, what have we been running away from? Nobody's really chasing us. America's never, like I say when I first started this show, where you mentioned, I think a lot of the younger generation, I can't believe I'm saying this, they just really want us to believe when you mentioned Rumsfeld and Cheney and Bush W, oh, they're not really even wasting our time with that. No, they have gone unpunished. You think Al Qaeda doesn't know they've gone unpunished? Of course, remember the bums rush to hang Saddam Hussein on national TV, every channel? And what was that, like a day after they found him? Dead man tell no tales. They did not want Saddam Hussein to tell any kind of tales. So, unless that's the only thing that's going to. Maybe Cheney will go. Maybe Cheney, maybe his artificial heart will finally go. What's that, his seventh heart there? I love about creativity in one mind. Okay, this is the creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by play, instinct, the play instinct, acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. So look at it that way. The creative mind is playing with you like a cat and a ball of yarn. Remember, the medical industry, all these industries that are depending on you getting sick. And you know what? The number one creator of all diseases, the number one thing they all have in common, fear. They want you to be so afraid. They want you to be so stressed out. They don't want you to be happy. When you laugh in the devil's face, the devil can't stand that. The devil disappears. That's why I live with a parrot, I think. Dogs do silly things once in a while, but a parrot's constantly a little Pagliacci, at least the one I live with. Just when I'm feeling, she'll come over and put her head like this, or she'll put her crown down, and she'll keep it this way until I kiss it. And then when I go down to kiss her yellow crown, she's an African Maya. She'll. I only got a few minutes here. Okay. Don't waste the dream state. We could do so much by acknowledging that's a whole school of the night, and by doing that we activate in our own body, our own mind, in our brain we have what they call, science calls, dark useless matter. No, that's the gold. That's the Texas tea. That's the gold. So definitely utilize your own abilities. You don't need these devices. They're. I guess they're important in emergencies, but they're being abused. You got to know that. Okay. Bless you all with prosperity. I love you. I love you. I'll be back here in a couple of weeks. Thank you for watching me on YouTube. Press subscribe. I like that, and it's been a pleasure. Bye. Namaste.